Hi, everybody. My name is Doug Peck, and welcome to Southborough Connects. I'm currently the chairperson for the Council on Aging in Southborough. I know that many of you think of the Council on Aging, you think of the Senior Center, but actually, in addition to overseeing the Senior Center, we have other responsibilities. Part of our mission is to advocate for seniors in town. And the mission for this show is to really give you insight into what's on in town, people you need to know in town, and other resources that uh, can help you live better in Southborough. So today we have two members of Youth and Family Services with us, Sarah Cassell and Shannon Kinayman. And I will turn it over to Sarah to tell us a little bit about the overall mission of what Youth and Family Services does, and we'll go from there. So welcome, Shannon. Sarah.
Thank you. We both thank you. Our names are often combined, actually. Sometimes people call her Sharon. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk about our department. And I want to start by talking about the name of the department. I think there's a lot of misinformation or misunderstandings about what our department does because of our name. So we're Youth and Family Services. However, we serve all residents of the Southborough community, regardless of their age or whether they're a single individual, part of a family, etc. And all of our services are free of charge to residents, and we think of our services in three major categories. The first being mental health support. And we have quite a variety of services that fall under that category that range from a one-time consultation. So a resident of the town can give us a call and talk to us over the phone and ask us a question like, is this normal? Should I be worried? Do you have any suggestions on what I do next? To ongoing support that could last several months and sometimes even longer. So that's our mental health support. We also have what we call need-based services, or also known as social services, and those are for residents who are experiencing financial challenges or financial hardship. So we have a number of programs available, some of which we share with the Senior Center. So for example, the Southborough Emergency Fund is a shared grant, so to speak, that we share with the Southborough Food Pantry, the Senior Center, and our department. So residents can reach out to us to ask for help with a variety of temporary, one-time sort of requests. And that service ranges from our emergency fund. We have certain programs that are specifically for families with children, such as our Camp Scholarship Program, but we're also a fuel assistance intake site. And though systems are kind of complex, we do our best to provide some case management support when somebody's experiencing a number of different stressors, be it housing, food insecurity, that sort of thing, transportation. So we may not have a program for it, but we do our best to help connect that person with other resources. And then for our last category, I'd love to hand the mic over to Shannon. Shannon is our resident prevention and outreach specialist in the department, and that's the last category. And maybe Shannon, you could share a little bit about what prevention looks like in our department.
Sure. Yeah. So mental health prevention, there are ways that it can be prevented and or helped before things become a crisis. So that's one of the things that our department strives to do. So some of the ways that we do that is through community education. So whether that be a workshop that I run, like QPR, which stands for Question, Persuade, Refer, and that's a suicide prevention program. We do one called Listen with Love, which is all about communication. it can also be people from the community come in and do talks for us, and we invite the community to come in for that. We're a part of, in conjunction with the town of Northborough, the Encompass Coalition, which is substance prevention, substance misuse prevention for youth. So I'm the chair of the Encompass Coalition. Sarah sits as the co-chair. So we do that, and we do as much outreach as we can, just so that people can know who we are and, you know, what we do, so that our name is synonymous with mental health help, and that if we can't help a person, then they need to know that we can also help to be the bridge to make sure that they get the proper support that they need. So that's prevention in a nutshell.
Okay. Where do you do most of your programs? Do you do them in schools in Southborough?
No, actually, they're all over
Okay.
the place. So throughout Southborough. So speaking of the senior center, now I can't remember, it might have been last year. I did a series over there where we did QPR, we did Listen with Love, we did Say It with Love.
Mhm.
So there we hold a lot of things right here in our building at 21 Highland or South Union. We do things with the school. There are programs that we do with the students, or we'll hold them, like, say, in the library.
Mhm.
We do a lot of programs over at the safety complex. So we're a
Oh.
traveling show. Anyone that wants us, we can come to you, or you can come to us.
Um, how can people find out about your programs? Where do you put them? Do you have a Facebook page as part of Southborough, or on Southborough Town website, My Southborough, things like that?
Yeah.
All of the above, all of
Both.
the above. That's one of the challenges we have, because everybody's trying to get their information out and
Right.
utilizing a lot of the same channels.
Mhm.
So we, short of going door to door, we try to get as much information in people's hands as we can through our website, through our social media accounts on My Southborough. We also
Mhm.
ask our fellow town departments to share the information out with their followers, the
Okay.
senior center included. So we try everything we can. We sometimes are putting up hard copies in various places.
Mhm.
We're just coming off of the heels of Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'm not sure if the senior center was one of our locations, but for example, we put out baskets of the color for Mental Health Awareness Month is green, and so we had green ribbons all over town that
Ah.
people could take and wear for the month.
Mhm.
The public safety officers and firefighters were wearing pins for the whole month on their uniforms. So we're doing a variety of, and we try to get creative. We gave out lemonade this year at opening day of baseball, because our theme for Mental Health Awareness Month was When Life Gives You Lemons. So we do a
Yeah.
variety of outreach at, we try to go to events, like the food truck festival,
Yeah.
various things happening around town, just to be part of it and say hello and give out information about our department. So there's sort of the traditional ways you can find us, and
Mhm.
then hopefully you'll see us at some of the events around town.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
word of mouth is pretty important too.
Mhm.
I think both the workshops that we do and the services that we provide, people are nervous about them, that there's still so much stigma around mental health.
Yeah.
That people say, well, I'd like to go to that workshop, particularly around suicide prevention, or even coming in for counseling, that it's like, well, it's probably a good idea, but I don't know. And the word of mouth piece is really, I think, special in Southborough, because people say, we've met the people at Youth and Family, we really like them, they're
Mhm.
warm, they're able to provide
Mhm.
services in a way that, we really enjoy and feel safe and feel happy. And yeah, we've gotten a lot of people to come through the doors because other people tell them that they can, and they should. So
Mhm. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because mental health does still have a stigma, for a lot of people. And I can see I'm sure it's frustrating at sometimes when you want to get people in, you know that you can help them, and they're just reluctant because of, past prejudices that they have, things like that. Are there
I
any,
will,
what's,
oh, sorry,
are
I was
there any
just gonna,
particular, go
go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if there's, when we talk about mental health, are there any particular issues that you've seen sort of on the rise lately, or you've been dealing with more than anything else, not specific cases, but just in general in Southborough?
In general, we treat uh, a lot of cases of depression and anxiety. What I was going to comment on when we were both inspired to speak at the same time was to just say the one positive that has come out of the COVID-19 pandemic has been that the stigma around accessing mental health support has decreased. So I will, sort of related to the question you asked, that's one comment I'd love to make, is that it's become more and more apparent and more comfortable for people to say, to heck with this, I need help, I'm going to go get it. And so many people are openly talking about the fact that they see someone for mental health support, which is really, I one of my favorite quotes, I love sharing quotes, but your testimony is the key to someone else's prison. And I think when people share their story about going, to Shannon's point, they share their story about going and getting help. It really empowers others who may be apprehensive about it to finally go and get the help that they need. But yeah, in general, depression and anxiety are the most common things people are experiencing. As a result, we see, we don't treat it here because it's really a specialty, but, substance use is sort of goes hand in hand with that. Really helping people navigate relationships is probably another big piece of what we do.
Okay.
Because let's face it, relationships can be complicated.
They're very complicated, and particularly in families, as families disperse across geographic areas and things come up. So I understand that. Do you have, I know there's a fair amount of at least initial mental health counseling that's done via Zoom. Do you folks do that, or is it mostly people coming into the office, or they have an option?
Yeah, we have the option to do both. Telehealth certainly has its place because for some people getting into the office is not an option, and or will become increasingly difficult. So that is an option, but it really is no substitute for in-person support. There's a lot that we can't assess, or we can't connect with people in the same way over Zoom as we would in person. So by and large, the majority of the services we offer are in person. For seniors, that means they can come into our office. If we can access a private space over at the senior center, we can also go over there. That's not something we regularly do now, but we certainly go into all of the schools in Southborough, and we meet with people in a variety of spaces. So that's certainly an option. In the years past,
the hard part.
Go ahead.
So the hard part at the senior center is, this is often of a very confidential nature. We don't have a good space for people to do that confidentially at the senior center, but it would be nice to be able to have that, but we don't right now. There's no separate door to go in or even office to sit in.
Yeah. I would encourage people to think of it similarly. I know we have a wonderful nurse that works on staff over at the senior center, Leslie Chamberlain, who I know, many residents in town think of her fondly. There's been on a few occasions where I've been able to meet with some folks in her office. Maybe there's some overlap between things that Leslie's working on and that we're working on.
Mhm.
So we do have the option. Sometimes it's really just, and this is absolutely a possibility too, if someone's feeling nervous or apprehensive, but if we can sort of facilitate an introduction, someone, a familiar face from the senior center meets with this individual, we come in and we're all together and sort of helps to
Mhm.
make things more comfortable. That's something that we've done before too. There's a lot of flexibility in our services, which
Oh,
is
good.
one of the benefits of Southborough having a town like ours, because you wouldn't be able to orchestrate something like that if you were seeing, a provider through your insurance. So,
Right. Right.
so this really
Yeah.
is a bridge service that helps in so many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is certainly one of the benefits of a small town where, we know a lot of people, mostly seniors, but we know a lot of them in town, particularly ones that are having some difficulty. And so we can always facilitate certain things because um, you know, I don't know if you can prevent everything, but you can catch things early, right,
That's right.
Shannon? Rather than later,
Mhm.
Yep.
and get a jump on things before they really turn into a crisis, and then everybody is running around, and your solutions are never as good as and outcomes are never as good as they could be.
And and if I
Right.
could just comment on that, and I'm sure Shannon's shaking her head too, that prevention is so important. I mean, to your point, Doug, but
Mhm.
um, we are much better poised to help people, and people have much better outcomes if they, as soon as they have concerns or suspect something is wrong, to get themselves help. That's across the board for all of our services, mental health, but also
Mhm.
social services.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a number of residents who have experienced some housing challenges, and we have a real housing crisis in Massachusetts.
Mhm.
That if we wait until things are, somebody is unhoused, there's
Right.
very few options that we have left. So it's really, really important for both mental health, social services to, engage upstream. And that's why
Mhm.
we really love having Shannon do so much of this prevention work, because it really enables us to, try to build a stronger safety net
Right.
upstream so
Mhm.
that fewer people fall through.
The
Right.
statistic is wild, particularly with mental health, that it takes the average person, it takes 10 years for them to go for mental health help.
Wow.
So if you thought about that in terms of medical, if you had a pain in your finger or
Mhm.
Broken
then
arm.
Mhm.
you're not going to wait 10 years for that, because you know that it's
Right.
gonna, turn into something really hard to treat. And it's the same thing where, you may not be able to prevent a mental health issue,
Mhm.
but does it need to become a crisis? Not really. So it's,
Mhm.
our mental health is health. Mental health is health. And so we really
Mhm.
encourage people, and the same thing with any kind of financial crisis, that, like Sarah said, the longer that you wait, the worse that it's going to get. And so the best way is to, come and see us right away when we can take a stab at it and
more
Yeah.
more options.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. Everybody seems to be an optimist that things are going to get better. Maybe it's not
yeah,
that severe, and
yep,
it's going to heal itself or improve itself, and
Mhm.
that
yeah,
never happens.
Yeah, or
And I know,
anxiety
I do.
anxiety comes into play
yeah,
too, like
Right.
if I pursue this help, it makes it more real. But
Yeah.
it's there no matter whether you get the help or not, and actually I would say that even if we do, it's kind of like going to the doctor. Even if you
Hmm.
had a pain in your finger, like Shannon said, you go to the doctor and the doctor tells you bad news, or something
Hmm.
you didn't want to hear. You feel some relief though, just by going and saying,
Right.
okay, this isn't what I was hoping, but
right.
I know I have a plan now, and I know there's someone here who can help me through this.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah, I do some presentations for the Alzheimer's Association. One of them is early detection really matters because
Yeah.
A, it may not be what you think it is.
Mhm.
And just like
Mhm.
with anxiety or something else, it may not be as bad as you think it is, but you
Right.
just have to uh, you know, deal with the situation as it is. And I
Yeah,
think it's wonderful that we have professionals that can really take a very not just an objective stance, but also a knowledgeable stance about these things, because I'm sure you've seen similar cases all the time. Everybody thinks they're unique, and they
Yeah.
are in many ways, but also there's a lot of similarities that and a lot of experience that you can draw on when you're
yeah,
dealing with things like anxiety and depression. You know what the stages are going to be, what's going to happen.
yeah,
You may not
yeah.
know when, but you
Mhm.
know that there's a better time to intervene uh, than letting it wait and sit. So
Right.
I'll just comment too that so many times we hear people say, I have friends for that. I have family I can talk to.
right.
And it's very different. Your friends and family um, are wonderful, loving people and can provide you a
Hmm.
certain type of support, but the objectivity that you get from working with a professional around challenges like this are really important. It's time that's just for you. When you're in a personal relationship, it's reciprocal. So,
Right.
two people are entering the relationship both with needs trying to be met. When you come into this space, it's all about you
Hmm.
and you're working, as you just said, Doug, you're working with somebody who has training, experience, expertise in how to overcome some of these challenges. And also the lens and assessment to be able to see sort of the direction it's heading in, whether it be
Right.
positive or becoming an increasing challenge. So I
Hmm.
think that's also important and that's not something that your friends and family may necessarily have.
No. And sometimes they do you unintentionally do you a disservice, friends and family. I know I've had dealing with people with dementia, friends and family that have sort of covered up memory issues and things like that, thinking that they're
Mhm.
helping the person, and they're not. The
Mhm.
person, if they had gone to see somebody a year ago or 2 years ago, they would have been much better position. But friends are saying it's not. They don't want to deal with it either. So they do a lot to cover things up, particularly if the person's living alone or doesn't have family close by. The friends think they're offering support, and oftentimes it's not the right thing at all. So,
Mhm. I
you know,
really love, the workshops that Shannon does for that very reason, because she does a lot of work on helping the loved ones in somebody's
mhm,
life around how to support that person, and completely unintentional,
mhm,
with good intention things
right,
that we all do as humans that actually are not necessarily helpful, and that have the opposite effect of what we're looking for.
mhm,
And so that I think is, because there's just, if we're being honest, there's just not enough mental health providers available, nor should we
Mhm.
be waiting for everyone to be able to see a mental health provider.
right,
And so it's really important that family and friends be trained in how they can
mhm,
best support each other.
Mhm.
mhm. Well, this has been good. I'm going to talk to Pam, but I'll tell you right now, I'd like to see some of those presentations that you're doing wherever in our newsletter for
Mm.
seniors, so they
Mhm.
become aware of them. It's every 2 months, but it goes out to you know, you know over a
It's a
thousand
popular
people,
newsletter.
well
Yeah,
over 1,000
like
people in
gold.
town. And
Yeah.
I think it would be good to have your schedule in there and let people decide,
Mhm.
maybe they will go, so I think it would be something that we should think about in the future, collaborate a little bit more.
Yeah,
I
that
think you
Sure.
sounds great.
folks are a great resource, for us. And uh, you're right. Your name tends to mask how
Mhm.
important it is for older
Yes,
folks. But older folks go through anxiety. It's just a
that's
little
right.
bit different.
Yeah.
They go through depression. We know that loneliness is a public health,
Mhm.
issue, and can often be easily disguised in a town that really looks like Southborough does,
Mhm.
where it's a high income and beautiful homes and everything, but there's a lot that goes on here
It's
as
part of
well.
being human.
People,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it is, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the last word. Anything else you want to mention? Uh,
No, I would just say that, I'm biased, but we're lovely people. We're very friendly and welcoming. And,
uh,
from, someone who has never stepped foot in a counseling office
yeah.
before or had any experience to, people who have been going to therapy their whole life.
Mhm.
We're here for you. Same is true for, if you're experiencing financial hardship. Um, Again, we may not have a program that's ours, but we are
Mhm.
certainly connected with other resources and do our best to help. And then prevention,
Yeah.
please check out the programs that we're putting on that Shannon's involved with. Please don't wait until something becomes at a crisis level, because it becomes increasingly difficult to
Mhm.
assist. And we have a lot more options and resources when we think upstream.
Right. Good. Well, again, thank you very much. Hope you both have a good summer.
Thank
And
you. You too.
okay.